Deep in the heart of Ohio's Amish country, away from the bustling eyes of the world, the Amish renegade was born. Escaping the confines of tradition, Lizzie Ens pursued her passion to become a highly sought-after health and wellness coach, driven by a deep desire to heal and inspire. With a unique ability to awaken the inner commando and renegade within each individual, Lizzie stands as a beacon of hope in a world yearning for change and craving simplicity. Tune in to the only show of its kind, hosted by the Amish renegade herself, Lizzie Ens, on the Lizzie Ens Show.
Welcome, everyone, to another powerful and amazing episode. I am so incredibly excited for this conversation. I have my dear friend Lucy Libido on the show. And guys, I literally just met this woman a week and a half ago.
And we're already BFFs. We're like soul sisters. I'm like, I love you.
Exactly. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be talking about hormones and libido. And if you don't have a sex drive or libido, what can you do? Why is this happening? And when I found out what you focus on, Lucy, and what it is that you do, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what we need to talk about on my show. So welcome to the show, Lucy.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be on. I love what I do. It fell into my lap in a way that I never would have predicted, and has kind of taken off into a life's mission and purpose. And I love what I do, and I love being here, and I love having this conversation with you.
Yes. So tell the listeners what you do.
What I do. Okay. So I'm a hormone coach, and I help women to balance their hormones and regain their libido, which is something that lots of women deal with, especially after pregnancy, going through perimenopause, going through menopause. I say that sometimes libido can be kind of like a report card for your overall hormone health. But if you don't feel very confident in that, it doesn't mean that you're failing. It just means that you haven't been taught. You haven't been taught about your body. So you can't fail something that you've never been taught. I'm here to be your teacher, your girlfriend that you go to the coffee shop with, and we just talk hormones and we talk libido.
I love that so much because I feel like libido and talking about sex is so a lot of people just aren't comfortable talking about it. And I'm like, we got to talk about it. We're all human. It's part of our life. We need to be comfortable talking about these things, and it depending on where you're from, which I want you to talk about where you're from too, because I'm actually really, really curious with your background, how you even got into this. But before we get into that, you're also an author of
I am.
Lucy Libido Says and Betsy Bosom's baby book. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Did I say that
So
right?
my original book that went viral is a bestseller, and it's still in the bestseller list even now, years later, which is crazy, on Amazon, is Lucy Libido Says There's an Oil for That. And it's all about using essential oils to boost your libido and to help your hormones. So it's nice because it's a natural over-the-counter tool that any woman can use. You don't need a prescription. You don't have to get blood work done because it's safe, effective, mild, and it's something anyone can do right now to balance their hormones. You get that book, and it talks about how to balance your hormones and your libido. So that book just blew up. And then we ended up having so many pregnancies in my following that we ended up writing the follow-up sequel, which was Betsy Bosom's baby book, because we found that there were a lot of people in my community that wanted a natural guide for using essential oils, herbs, supplements, things that were safe during pregnancy. So we wrote a follow-up to that because so many people in our community got pregnant after the book.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. So you first wrote Lucy Libido Says, which is about essential oils, and I'm familiar with essential oils, but I don't really dive into the research of them, use some of them, but it's never been something that I got heavily into, other than just kind of casually using them, lavender and peppermint, and, those kinds of things. But so you wrote that book and you created this whole community around it.
Yes.
And then people started having babies because they started balancing their hormones. Yeah. And then you wrote another book as kind of a sequel to that.
Yeah. So it's been a party. It's been a hormone party over in the Lucy Libido world.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. So take the listeners back a little bit. Okay. And let's talk about, where is Lucy Libido from? And let's talk about your background a little bit. And I want to hear that journey of like where you're from and how you even got into what you're doing now.
Yeah, sure. I'm like, how far do we want to go back? Let's go back to like when I grew up in a very conservative family, but fortunately my parents weren't conservative in talking about sex. And I actually think now looking
Thank
back
God.
that that's very unique. And I think most of my peers did not have parents that ever talked about sex. So like I knew what sex was, I knew what my period was before those things happened in my life. And I think that in very conservative, closed-minded cultures or societies, women are completely unprepared. So I think I have a little bit of what I would consider almost like normal conversations, but I think that within my environment, I was a little bit like more prepared for those things. So I personally didn't feel a stigma around sex. However, I lived in an environment where I believe that most people did. So I kind of was the person that was like, why don't we talk about sex? Why are we worried about our libido? Like for me, it was like I was comfortable talking about that. And what I found out was that a lot of women had a lot of questions and they needed answers, but they didn't have anyone to talk to because their parents were in a generation where they didn't talk about these things. And then they're like, I don't know what I can talk about. So essentially, I was an essential oil instructor and I was a wellness coach. I'm a Pilates instructor. I'm also a retired professional ballerina and Cirque aerial artist. So I'm all about the body, art, kinesiology, athleticism. And when I fell into essential oils, it just kind of fit into the things that I love. So, I started teaching oils, for like natural health at home or like sleep or stress reduction. And one year I thought I should teach a Valentine's Day class on how to use essential oils for your marriage or for Valentine's Day to boost your libido. And, like a typical person, I'm like, hey, well, where's the script for that? Like, what oils do I use for that? And there was zero information. I was like, why is this not a thing? Why is there no information on oils to boost your hormones? Because our hormones are like a physiological foundation of our bodies. And when we use things like food, nutrition, oils, herbs, supplements, that all supports that. So for me, I just felt like, why is this not information out there? So what I did was I opened up a research group because I figured I can either not have the information or I can create it. And so I created that information. I opened up a research group. I talked to lots of women and I said, hey, will you come in and share your problems, your intimacy, your communication issues, the things that your husband is having a problem with or your partner, or like what you're having problems with. And let's make a class out of this so we can teach this. And I had a lot of women that jumped on it. Like they were like, oh my gosh, I want this information. And I was surprised at how many people volunteered. But what was interesting was I'm like, okay, so we're going to teach an online class on this. And a lot of people were like, we're not going to talk about my sex life problems and post it on the internet tomorrow. And guess who those people were? The husbands. Not the women. The women were like, give me the information. And the men were like, I don't want like talking about this tomorrow. So I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up an online class, a course, and I'm going to teach it under the pseudonym Lucy Libido. So nobody will know who I am. Therefore, nobody will know who you are because like you're my friends. And I will promise your privacy in talking about these really vulnerable situations that we're all going through. So I had this research group. I opened up this class and it went huge, like viral. All these people were trying to get in. And I was like, I didn't know how to moderate a class that big. I was just thinking it was going to be hundreds of people. People were coming from all over. We got some bad apples that were bringing in stuff that wasn't intended in the class. And I was like, oh, I have to moderate. And I'm like learning how to moderate a massive online course. So I taught the course, closed it out. And I was like, that was a lot of work. I'm never going to do this again. Like famous last words. So the next year, also, I opened up a Facebook name and page under Lucy Libido so that it was separate from my own. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I closed it out. It was like a lot of work. It was really fun, but I just thought it was like a one-time thing. The following year, I opened up my Facebook like 9 months later, and I had it was flooded with messages that I hadn't seen. And they were like, thank you so much for my class. I know that you just only invited people you knew, but can you please teach us again? Because I want to invite my sister and I want to invite my mom and my best friend really needs this. And so, like this person at work really needs it. And will you please let them in? Will you please let them in? And I was like, I had no idea how much impact the class had and how many people wanted in the class, but I didn't let in the class because I didn't know how to moderate. So I was just like, I know you, so you're in, but I don't know who you are, so you're not. So I opened it up into a public forum that we could better moderate. We got a whole team. We had a moderation system in place. And I announced on Facebook, I am teaching this class, and this year, anyone can come in, but you have to be a woman. We're not going to allow men. And I kind of just have to know where you're coming from. And so we're going to have moderation questions. We opened up this class. 10,000 people in our first week joined this class.
What?
And my job was to hear. And I realized so many women want to talk about this. They just don't have a place to do it. And so I realized that this was not just a little thing. So many people want. So my group now, that same group, a few years later, is 150,000 women in my Facebook group where we talk libido and oils. After that, everyone was saying, okay, I love the class, but it's like, Facebook, if you've ever taught a Facebook class, things get bumped and it gets moved around. They're like, we kind of want it like A to Z. So I took that Facebook class that I taught to 10,000 people and I turned it into my book, Lucy Libido Says There's No Oil for That. It's a guide and it's A to Z, chapter to chapter. And I was like, I spent so many months on it, like just such a labor of love. And I wanted to do it correctly. And I worked with another author and I really did it right. Like it wasn't a pamphlet, it was a book. And I put my heart and soul into this book and all my time and money and energy. And then I was like, okay, I didn't have a website. I didn't have a checkout system, didn't have a shipper, like nothing. I went in my Facebook group. I was like, hey guys, guess what? I wrote the book. It's this class in book form. And I'm just praying that 100 people will buy it. So I will break even. And I'm like, so I've got the book. So anyone who wants it, I laugh now. Like I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, anyone who wants it, PayPal me to this address and put your address in the comments. Cause I'm thinking I'm going to get 20 people. Okay. So this was my system because I didn't even have a website. Like I just had a Facebook class. That's all I had. Right. And then I put that up and like a few orders start rolling into my PayPal. And I'm like, oh my gosh, people are buying it. I'm so excited. So so we call my husband in the book, it's Mr. Libido and Lucy Libido. And so again, because that's how we started out with all the privacy. So I'm like, oh my gosh, Mr. Libido, some people are buying my book. Like we're going to break even. We can like all those costs, we're going to work out. And he's like, great. We go to dinner and I come home. I'm like, oh, I broke even and I made a little bit of money for the 6 months of time I put into it. My time has been paid back. And I'm just like, so proud of myself. And he's so proud of me. We go to bed. I wake up, I open up my PayPal the next morning and I kid you not, my jaw like hits my knees. And I'm like, oh, can I swear? I was like, oh shit, we need a shipping company. We need a shipping company now. We had 8,000 books ordered. And I was shipping them from my kitchen table by myself on like PayPal addresses, like in notes. And I'm like,
how do you keep track of all that? Oh my gosh.
So anyway, it was crazy. And I told everyone, I'm like, guys, it's going to take me a few weeks. And I got my whole team together and we divvied up the work and we had to do it one at a time. I didn't have a shipping system. I immediately gave it to Amazon. I was like, hey, Amazon, because they can fulfill. So I gave it to Amazon. They took it like that because it was like so hot. Yeah. And within the next day, just thousands of orders, bestseller book. And then Amazon was fulfilling, but I still had thousands of books that I was doing from my kitchen table.
Yeah, only 8,000.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I need a website. I need a shipping company. I need, but it was
what I want to point out here though, is that you literally don't have to have all your shit together to start a business, to write a book, to do something. Like so many people feel like they have to have it all figured out and they have to have a fancy website. They have to have all of these things in order to make something happen. And literally, like, you proved it wrong. Like, you proved that you don't have to. I do a lot of things that way too, where I used to do a lot more than I do now, but I still do sometimes. Like, I create a course or I do something, I will put it out there and find the interest for it, or I'll pre-sell it. And that's how you know what you're providing. Like, you want to provide what the customer actually wants. And so
I learned this after I think
Yeah,
that's
and
how
so
hard getting.
that's what you did, which is so thank you for sharing that because literally we just met and I'm like this conversation is going to be amazing because I know you're going to tell me a lot of things that I don't even know yet. So, I'm excited, but we do have to go to our first break here, but when we come back, I want to get into some of the hormone balancing protocols that you put in place, maybe even the oils that you use.
Mhm.
I want to really dive into that stuff because I think that that's something that's so incredibly important for women specifically because I ask literally all of my clients, "How's your sex drive?"
Yeah,
And they
good
have to
question.
answer it because it's such an indicator of where things can be or where things maybe are at the moment
Mhm.
and every nobody wants a non-existing sex drive. If you want a non-existing sex drive, then that typically means there are mental and emotional things going on
A lot of
that
times trauma
are,
related.
are a whole different it's a whole different thing. But
Mhm.
anyway, we got to go to our first break, but when we come
Right.
back we'll continue to dive into this. We'll be right
Right.
back, guys.
Right. Sounds good.
Hey there, renegades! Are you tired of just going through the motions? Ready to break free and design the life you've always craved? Then you're in luck, because right here, right now, you're in the heart of it all. Every single week on the Lizzie Ens Show, we release a new episode where we dive deep into the hottest topics out there, from health and fitness to mindset, business, and personal growth. But here's the kicker, we're not just here to talk, we're here to make it happen. Join us weekly for discussions that are uplifting, powerful, fun, and relatable. We're all about embracing the incredible potential of our minds and bodies and learning to move with them to reclaim our vitality in every aspect of our lives. So if you're ready to join the revolution and unlock your true potential, tune in every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific Time. Because right here, right now, you're in the perfect place to make it all happen.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
You're now listening to the world-renowned and internationally recognized Amish Renegade on the Lizzie Ens Show.
All right, welcome back, you guys. Okay, Lucy, I want to dive into the whole libido part. One of the things that like really stood out to me is when you were talking about your parents and like you grew up in a very conservative religious community and it's not super common for people in these communities to be so open. And so I'm curious, like, did your parents just kind of like openly talk about everything and educate it and made it like not this taboo thing?
My parents did, yes. So, which was interesting because I don't think that that was typical in my neighborhood, at my local church. I think that they were just a little bit more open about that. Like I said, they taught me about my period, they taught me what sex was when I was quite young. And so for me, it just seemed like a normal thing. And
Yeah.
I think that there's so much value in education young. And I always say this: the younger your children are, when they understand what their body is and what their body parts are and what they do and what sex is, then it's not taboo. Things that are taboo are things that we keep a secret and we don't talk about, or we treat it as if it's something that's negative or bad. My parents were still very conservative in their beliefs about sex, like when it was
Yeah.
okay and who it's okay with. But I knew what it was from a young age. And so I didn't feel a taboo talking about it. And I think that because I was a person who would talk about it in a way, like with my community, I'm always like cracking jokes. I'm always telling funny stories. I make it like lighthearted and easy and safe. I think that people that come from those communities that I came with, where it was just like this very like dark hush hush over thing. And I'm over here just totally open and talking and laughing and cracking jokes. It creates this like openness and
Yeah.
safety of like, oh, I can go to learn about it from her, because like she's not going to push anything on me that's outside of my belief system, but I'm going to get the education to make my own choices.
Well, at the end of the day, it's about being educated. You know, where I'm from, it's very taboo. Like they don't teach any kind of sex ed. They're just like for example, like when I have a twin, and when my twin and I started dating at like 16 and a half, literally the only thing that my mom said to us was like, keep your clothes on. That was it. There was no like,
You're like, why would I take them off?
like, you're going to be hanging out with boys now. Like, this is something that you need to be aware of. And this is what sex is. Like, they don't teach their women, like, have the sex talk to the women, to the girls, until the night before their wedding. That's when they like tell them. But the thing is like, teenagers talk. We grew up on a farm. Like, there, you learn things, but it's done in such a private, like it's looked at and taught at as dirty. Yeah, it's like
And I
hush
hate
hush.
that.
Like they
I
don't
hate
even
it.
like, yeah, they don't even announce pregnancy. So like my mom had 19
That's nice.
kids. I'm in the middle. And I remember when some of my younger siblings were born, and like they would never tell us that she was pregnant and that we were going to have another like baby
That's
sister or
crazy
baby
to
brother.
me.
That's how
Wow.
incredible. So what that does though is there's a couple things that can happen with that I've seen. Either when you leave, you become a complete crazy person and you know, do all kinds of stuff, crazy stuff, or you never know how to actually explore. Like because it feels uncomfortable. It feels dirty because you've been taught all your life.
Shameful. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's taboo, it's dirty, we don't talk about that. And I think that it is so incredibly important to educate kids like in a healthy manner. So I love what your parents did, because I think that it creates this like healthy relationship with it, because at the end of the day, everybody is a sexual human being and it's part of our life, and it's going to be part of our life. And so I would rather see it, the education piece, in a healthy manner behind it than this dirty taboo private thing that we don't talk about.
Yeah.
But
And studies have shown that the more people are educated in sex and sexuality in the younger the ages, the better sex choices they make. They're more likely to put a priority on consent over fitting in. They're more likely to choose healthier sexual partners. They're more likely, and I don't want to use the word wait, but they're more likely to know when the time is correct and adequate for them in a relationship, when we give them good education. So if we want our children making good sexual choices, then we need to arm them with good sexual education.
yeah, it is, and it really also comes down to like respecting like your body as well. As like, where's that respect that you have, and what are the lines that you put in place and the boundaries you put in place for yourself. Like, I think that's huge, and it could look different for different people, but like you got to know like where your boundaries are and what
Yes.
it is that you want.
And
And
then you're able to be true to yourself,
yeah,
not true to someone's cultural, religious, or social expectations.
yep,
You be true to yourself. And
yeah,
that's where you're going to be the happiest and the most safe.
it's so empowering, so incredibly empowering. Um, so from here, I want to talk a little bit about the holistic part of it. So, what did you experience, and what have you seen with your community? Like when they come to you and they're like, "Hey, like I have no libido." What is your approach from there?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is what I love to teach. So I always say that, libido is a flag. It's like a red flag or a green flag for a couple of things. One, your overall hormone health, and two, the health of your relationship. Yeah. And because it goes without saying, if we are in a relationship with a toxic, abusive, unhealthy, unaligned individual, you're not going to have libido, right? So like, we're going to take that section in that group of people and we're going to put that aside because of course that exists, but I'm not speaking to that population. That population, their issues around libido are like, you're with an unhealthy person, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to remove that population, acknowledge that that's there. And we're going to talk about the population and people who are typically either in a healthy relationship or not necessarily in a relationship, but they're just focusing on hormones and libido for themselves. Because outside of the unhealthy relationships, we should have a libido for the people, the person that we love, or the person that we are looking for, or that, you know, the kind of person that we want to love. And when our hormones are in alignment, our libido will be stronger and it will be healthier. And so I teach women, you know, how to bring their libido back after pregnancy, during perimenopause, because our hormones are dropping, after menopause, because we're experiencing so much dryness and discomfort. And they're different. There's different problems and different solutions, but it all comes down to hormones, and it comes down to like what you need to be supplementing and what you need to be eating, how you need to be exercising, and the kinds of specific things you need for that particular hormone problem.
Yeah. No, that is so incredibly important. And I think that one of the things that a lot of women specifically when we have babies, when we are in those early years, or we're always busy taking care of the kids, taking care of whatever it is, like that
So
can be very draining. And so yeah, so if you're exhausted, then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I got no energy left for this. And so, but the other thing too is, you know, I coach women all the time. And one of the things that I have had conversations with many women is like, I love my husband, but like I have zero drive. Okay,
yeah, you
that's
get
an issue
exhausted.
because they're exhausted. There's things going on with their body internally, inflammation, hormone imbalances, whatever the case may be. But also, like, to take it a step further, like, if you don't feel good in your body, if you don't feel confident in your body, that's another factor as well.
Oh, I love this conversation.
Yes. Do you want to take it away on
Yeah,
that?
so I'm going to tell you something that was another mind-blowing part of feedback in my community and in my mission. When I was doing my research group with women, they had pretty much like a homework every night. I was like, try this oil, try this supplement, try this massage, try it. And I was just like, homework, but let's try this. What's the result, right? Because we were doing research on like, how do most people respond to XYZ? This oil for him, this oil for her.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was one homework assignment that I gave everyone that like the next day, nobody turned it in. Like no one did it. And I was like, that struck a nerve. That's interesting. So I reminded them, oh, hey guys, so no one did this. This is your thing to do. Do tomorrow. Let's do this. They didn't do it. Next, they didn't do it for a week every day. And okay. So you're just like, what was this thing that I was asking them to, like, no one would do it. The one assignment that people would not turn in was write down 10 things about yourself that are beautiful and that your spouse admires in you. That was the assignment that people didn't turn in. When I was like, try this oil and rub it on this part and do that, they would do it. And it made me realize so much of our problems isn't coming from the thing that we're supplementing or the lingerie that we're wearing.
Yep.
It's actually coming from our inner worth, that we aren't confident and we don't believe that we're beautiful enough or worthy enough of relaxing and enjoying pleasure.
Yeah.
And so I started off my course and my books and everything with exercises to remind us that our beauty doesn't come from societal looks or expectations. It's not coming from your thigh gap. It's not coming from your long hair. It's not coming from your poreless skin. It's coming from who you are as your intrinsic value and what your partner loves about you. And your partner sees those things in you. Why can't we see them in ourselves? And so I start off always when we're working on our libido, I make women write down the things that they love about themselves and the things that their husbands love about them. And I have them write it on their mirror and I have them repeat it every day. And when they do that, they start to hear their own worth and they start to open up, and a lot of that frigidity releases. So this emotional component of loving ourselves and feeling worthy is such a huge part of improving our libido.
Oh, 1000%. Like I would give 20 stars on that. If this was a star rating, like that's like 20 stars. So because it's like if you don't see that value and that self-worth and that love for yourself internally, like you're not going to be able to provide and be who you really want to be. I believe that we all have it within us, but those negative thoughts, the things that we tell ourselves. I had this assignment with my clients just last week, and I said, "Listen, we talk about, writing down positive things that we love about ourselves. We talk about those things, and being aware, intentionally aware of like the thoughts that are going through our head. But I said, what if you started to write down and recognize the negative things that you're saying about yourself, because a lot of times we're not paying close enough attention to those where it's like, oh, like why did I think that about myself? Would I even say that out loud? If I'm not saying that out loud, then I wouldn't say it. So
Would I say that
recognizing,
to a friend? If I
yeah,
wouldn't say that to a friend, should I say that to myself?
right. So the reality is those thoughts are going to be there. But one of the things that I believe, and I know this because I experienced this myself, is we can get to a place where we can we can manage those thoughts a lot more than what we think that we can. And so if we have a reoccurring negative thoughts that are coming in, if you start recognizing that they're there, then you can go, okay, how do I flip that? And we start like crowding out that by keeping the positive things coming in and flipping it and changing the neurons in your brain where it's like, hey, I'm going to go over here and we're going to focus on this. And then recognizing when those negative things are coming in, the things that you're saying about yourself, you're like, no, that's not actually true. Like, that's not the truth
Yes.
about me. So that's really, really where it starts.
I love that. And that's going to help with those exhaustion levels. So you spoke about, like moms, young moms, or
Mhm.
right after pregnancy, like we're so exhausted. And when we get to the end of the day and we're exhausted and we have nothing, we've been giving constantly to others, when we have so little for ourselves, we're not going to be in a place as well to open up. And so, one of the steps in my program is to make sure that you are reserving, that sounds funny, but you are reserving for yourself. And that you're keeping your stress levels down, and that you're asking and communicating when you need help, because we tend to take a lot on. And I still to this day am learning how to ask for help in a way that I get the help that I need. So I can't be so I'm not so overstressed, so that when I get to the end of the day, I'm not just like crying for my pillow, but that I'm like, I have some energy left for my husband, because then that not only fills him, but that fills me.
Yeah.
And so keeping those stress levels down, and we have oils that I recommend for that. We have nootropics and adaptogens that I love for that. And, using oils and adaptogens for stress can make such a huge difference. Plus the communication of not being overwhelmed. You bring all those things together, our stress levels go down, which means our cortisol goes down, which means we have more DHEA to make like progesterone and estrogen. Then we have higher love hormones, and then we're feeling it more. So it's all related. It's like a beautiful package deal.
I love that. Well, we got to go to our next break here, but when we come back, I want to talk about some of your favorite oils, because
Okay, we'll do it.
I feel like this is an important thing for the listeners. So guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break.
Yay.
Hey there, renegades! Are you tired of just going through the motions? Ready to break free and design the life you've always craved? Then you're in luck, because right here, right now, you're in the heart of it all. Every single week on the Lizzie Ens Show, we release a new episode where we dive deep into the hottest topics out there, from health and fitness to mindset, business, and personal growth. But here's the kicker. We're not just here to talk. We're here to make it happen. Join us weekly for discussions that are uplifting, powerful, fun, and relatable. We're all about embracing the incredible potential of our minds and bodies and learning to move with them to reclaim our vitality in every aspect of our lives. So if you're ready to join the revolution and unlock your true potential, tune in every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific Time, because right here, right now, you're in the perfect place to make it all happen.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
You're now listening to the world-renowned and internationally recognized Amish Renegade on the Lizzie Ens Show.
All right, welcome back, you guys. We are going to dive into some oils, but I did have a thought when we were in the last segment. We have this like thought, an idea that sex has to wait until the end of the day. But I don't think that it doesn't. Like, I am a huge believer and proponent of like, if you're a middle of the day or a morning kind of person, like do it when you feel your best.
Lunchtime
And so,
sex.
yeah, huh?
Lunchtime sex.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, why do we have this whole thing of like, wait until the end of the day? I'm like, no, like if you have the flexibility of, doing it throughout the day or whenever is best for you, do that. Do that.
Yes.
And when you're ready to go to bed and you're like, I'm tired. Hey, checklist. It's already checked off. Not that it should be a check.
I know.
Otherwise it is.
I think it comes from being a young mom and waiting until your kids are asleep. I think that that's where that comes from. So we get into that habit, but truly like Sunday morning sex where the kids are sleeping in and you're like, that is a great time. You have energy. Lunch break sex where your spouse in home and you're like, we got 45 minutes. Let's go. Like stuff like that can be so fun and spontaneous. So yes, thank you for bringing that up, that we don't always have to wait till the end of the day. And we're usually the most tired at the end of the day. So
yeah, exactly. So do it when you have more energy. Yeah. I'm a huge proponent. I'm like, ladies, if you're listening to this, like make it happen. Like do that. If you're like, hey, it's the middle of the day. And if your husband is around and you're like, let's make this happen, go do it. Like be spontaneous with it. Like I feel like, especially like where I'm from, because it was such a taboo thing, it's like, oh, it's like gotta be this like,
after hours,
like after hours, like after dark, like, no, go have fun with it. So anyway, let's get into
with the lights on. I love it. I love that. Well, let me share with you some of my favorite oils, herbs, adaptogens that are super easy, safe. You can get them over the counter and can absolutely spark up your love life with your partner. And if you allow, I'm going to share some for him and for her, because we've got both listeners on the side, and that way everyone can use that to their advantage. So, but we're going to start with women, because women typically tend to have the lower libido, and it's usually related to our stress levels. But first of all, getting those stress levels down, keeping our cortisol down. I love adaptogens. I love ashwagandha. I love maca root. I love rhodiola. I have a particular supplement that I love for all women, all ages, whether it's like, I just had a baby and I'm just so fatigued, or like I'm in perimenopause and I'm getting like brain fog, or I'm in menopause and I'm like so dry and have no desire. Those adaptogens, like across the board, they're so great. And there's a company that I love and I absolutely recommend. It's called Ula Mind Body. They have a supplement that's for your mind, and it's for sharpness, energy, acuity, and then body for all of the nutrients. So it's nootropics and adaptogens. That's my personal favorite. I'm sure you have some as well, but I love that just for the energy and keeping the cortisol down so that you've got energy at the end of the day. So one of my favorites, and that's just like daily. I love that every single day.
And those are herbs that support your adrenals.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you're just helping like with the adrenals and the cortisol and all of that. So yeah, absolutely.
And cortisol is the thief of progesterone, and progesterone is our libido hormone. When we have high levels of cortisol, we have a precursor, DHEA, and that makes all of our reproductive hormones, our libido hormones. And when we are under stress, the metabolic pathway changes. Like DHEA is like the recipe to a cake, and it can come down and it can make muffins, or it can make bread, or it can make cookies, right? Depending on the metabolic pathways. And when we're under stress, it goes to cortisol, and then we don't have that ingredient left to make our cake and our cookies, which is the fun stuff, which is our libido and our progesterone. And I don't want to say like it's just dessert, but like the happy hormones are deprived because we're feeding everything to the cortisol. And so getting those cortisols down and that adrenal down means you have more ingredients for your cake. So that's how I explain it. And I think that that makes sense. Like, oh yeah, I only have so many ingredients. I only have so much energy. I have to like make sure that I'm getting it here, and keeping that cortisol down with those adaptogens. So great. Now to
Well, the other thing that I actually want to point this out. So a lot of times people think of testosterone as the like the main thing for their sex drive. While true for men, like testosterone is a big one for men in terms of sex drive. So if you are a male and you have low testosterone, the chances of that sex drive being low, yes, absolutely.
likely testosterone.
Yeah, but for women, it's not just testosterone. Like you're
Right.
absolutely right. The progesterone is a huge piece of it. And I can't tell you, Lucy, like how many women, when I run their labs, how
Zero
low their
progesterone.
progesterone, like their progesterone is just like not there.
Like zero. It's so
Yeah.
common. Zero.
Yeah, so common. And
Our cortisol steals it all.
yeah, so cortisol, then we have the DHEA, and we have our sex hormone binding globulin. Like it's all part of the cake, like you said, and in all of those ingredients. So it all matters. And that's why when we run labs, we don't run just one or two of these things. We want to get like all of the
Not
ingredients.
just your estrogen or your progesterone, because we want to know like where is it coming from, where is it going. You get the whole picture of like the whole breakdown, top to bottom, of what's going on in your body. Yeah, and those labs are so good for that.
So what are some essential oils for the females?
So we'll go. Yes. Okay. So I'll a couple of my favorites for libido. I'll give like 3 or 4 for women, and I got 1 or 2 for the guys. So for the women, there's a wild yam extract, and it's technically called the serum. It's called Progestins Plus. It has wild yam and spearmint in it, and it helps to calm the adrenals, and it helps to support progesterone levels through the disogenin, which is in wild yam, and that helps with the progesterone estrogen balance. And that helps women just to feel happier, helps them to sleep better, and it helps them to have more libido. And I say that that particular choice is really great for anyone above age 30. I feel like anyone above age 30 can use that, and you can use that like almost every day. And that's just like a great one for hormone balance overall.
An oil, that's an essential oil?
It's an oil. It's an oil blend. Yeah. And because most women are like nearly at a 0 progesterone, and it's something that's going to support that and help that. Now, another one of my favorite essential oils for libido, it helps to support estrogen levels, and that is clary sage. So clary sage has the highest level of phytoestrogens of any plant. And phytoestrogens work in the body bioavailable to mimic estrogens in the body. Now, there's a lot of fear around estrogen. There's a lot of misinformation that estrogen is bad. And I always say that estrogen alone is not the enemy. Now, if we have too much estrogen, we can have issues, but usually that's related to a lot of other things. Like we've got high cortisol, it's not metabolizing correctly. But one thing to understand with libido and estrogen is that our libido is highest in our cycle. What day? Typically 14. When we're ovulating, it's genetically, this is how we are made. We are made to have the most libido when we are fertile. This is why 3 days before your period, you hate your husband and you're like, don't fricking touch me. And when you're mid-cycle, you're like, I can't get enough of you. All right. It's because our body is inherently smart and it knows that we're fertile. And so our libido will be higher mid-cycle, and it's because of the estrogen rise. So progesterone, we need it for our libido and our mood, but also the estrogen rise. So clary sage, if you're trying to support your mood and you're trying to get in the mood, I've got all these wonderful recipes in my book. Lucy Libido Says There's an Oil for That. And they tell you how to blend these, and you put it in a cute little roller bottle, and you rub it just below your navel and on your wrists, and on your inner thighs. and it will boost lubrication because estrogen is what we need for lubrication. So if you're dry, you rub this on, you put it around your navel, and you're going to get more juicy. You're going to get more warmed up. You're going to get more excited. So it's a way to kind of mimic that natural desire when we have an estrogen boost, is to use that oil. And it's fantastic. We call it juicy because it helps you get juicy and it helps with desire. It's really good.
That's awesome. I love that. That's amazing. So when people use that one specifically, do they notice their libido
comments.
like the same day?
The comment section. You got to come in for the comment section.
I will go to the comment section.
They're like, I had to change my underwear. What are you doing to me? Like, it's just so funny. Our comment section is full of jokes.
Who needs lubricant when you got that?
I know, it's so good. It's like, it's amazing. It helps your body make your own. So like perimenopause, menopause, you're getting dry, use it every day. If you're like not necessarily dry, but you want to get more in the mood, then you just put it on as like your pre-show for your game show. You know, you just like, you put it on.
Yeah, it's like pre-gaming. You're like pre-gaming.
It's the, what's it called? Tailgating. The tailgating party. Yeah.
We gotta go.
Oh, do you have to go to break? I have more for you.
we're gonna come back. We gotta go to our next break, but we're gonna come
not gonna
back.
miss the next few.
Yes. We'll be right back after the break, you guys.
Great.
Hey there, renegades! Are you tired of just going through the motions? Ready to break free and design the life you've always craved? Then you're in luck, because right here, right now, you're in the heart of it all. Every single week on the Lizzie Ens Show, we release a new episode where we dive deep into the hottest topics out there, from health and fitness to mindset, business, and personal growth. But here's the kicker. We're not just here to talk. We're here to make it happen. Join us weekly for discussions that are uplifting, powerful, fun, and relatable. We're all about embracing the incredible potential of our minds and bodies and learning to move with them to reclaim our vitality in every aspect of our lives. So if you're ready to join the revolution and unlock your true potential, tune in every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific Time. Because right here, right now, you're in the perfect place to make it all happen. You're now listening to the world-renowned and internationally recognized Amish Renegade on the Lizzie Ens Show.
All right, we are on our last section here. We only have a few minutes left. By the way, I'm totally getting your book. Like, I'm so intrigued by this. I've never had anybody.
For your listeners, let's do a coupon code. They can come to my website, lucylibido.com. You can get it on Amazon, but if you come to the website, I also have all the pretty roller bottles and the pump bottles that we make, like oil-infused lubes and oil-infused love potions that the book gives you all the recipes for, and then you're going to want to make them. So yeah, come grab it on my website, lucylibido.com, and in the show notes, we'll give your listeners a coupon code.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, by the way. By the way, what are your social handles? I wanted you to tell the listeners your social.
Yeah, it's just Lucy Libido everywhere. So Instagram is Lucy Libido, Facebook is Lucy Libido. The Facebook group, which is private and you have to answer the questions to get in, is facebook.com/groups/Lucy Libido Says. Just say, hey, I heard you on the podcast, on Lizzie Ens' podcast. We'll let you write in. We just like to know where people come from. Yeah. It keeps it organic and safe. And then my website, lucylibido.com, and you can get the book and all the bottles and the pumps and the recipes, because it's fun. We have homemade lubes that are oil infused that are just incredible, because they're not just for moisturization and lubrication. They actually have ingredients in it that boost your progesterone and estrogen, therefore naturally boost your desire. So it's like epic. Yeah. I
love that. So let's talk about a couple men's oils that you like for the men.
Okay, so we'll talk about one of my favorite oils that can go either way. I call it a swinger because it helps both men and women. Ooh. And that is cypress. I know it's a swinger. Cypress. I always tease that when cypress goes out of stock, it's because I just refilled my personal stock because it's one of my absolute favorites. Because cypress, so it's a conifer, obviously, and it supports circulation. So, we're all adults here. We know that circulation and vasomotor is a big part of like a great time in the bedroom, men or women. I always say that Cypress is my secret best friend that helps me to have fireworks at the end of my electric parade, because the parade is great, but we're all there for the fireworks.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And so Cypress helps with those fireworks. So, this is one that it's one that I blend in to, like, so with the men's blends, I blend with men supporting oils, and with the women, I'll blend Cypress with like clary sage for the estrogen boost. I'll blend it with ylang ylang because that is an aphrodisiac. And we put those in both lubes, which, go everywhere, for lubrication, and love potion rollers, which are the rollers that we just roll on to get like the boost of the hormones into our body. So Cypress helps things to go quicker, go faster. I always tease that every species, I wish they had Cypress in their back pocket, because it helps things to go faster, and it helps those fireworks to be bigger and better. I don't know if you know, but like eagles in the wild, when they mate, they actually fly at like 3,000 feet. They start dancing their tango for two, and they actually fall. They like completely tango while they fall. They can't flap their wings and dance their tango at the same time. And true to, I don't know what, they will not disconnect until they are done. They will actually hit the ground together if they have not completed. And so I just think of these poor eagles, like,
they need Cypress.
2,000, they need 1,000. And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, if I was an eagle, if I was a lady eagle, and I'm just not getting there, and I'm like 300 feet, 200 feet, I'm sorry, I would fake it. I'm just like, I just couldn't. I'd be like, I'm done, I got it. Right. We all need some Cypress in our lives. So it's going to help us to not be like those poor eagles. Like, I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get there. And, fortunately, we're just like 15 minutes till like the kids come in the door. It's not as scary as those poor eagles, but it helps it to speed. It helps it go to fast, helps it get those fireworks. So beautiful oil for men and women to blend in. Okay. Now, men only. So we're going to talk about supporting testosterone levels, because that's going to be beneficial, obviously, for our men. Our women, we need a little testosterone, but our men definitely more. So there is an essential oil called Idaho Blue Spruce. Again, it's a conifer. And there have been studies that were done, but unfortunately they weren't FDA approved because, heaven forbid it compete with major profitable drugs on the market.
Yeah.
But it was actually published and then was required to be taken down. So you can't find it, but I actually read it when it was up. So just take my word for it. That men who were taking 5 to 10 drops of Idaho Blue Spruce internally in a capsule with olive oil, their progesterone levels substantially increased. Now this is
can you spell that out?
It is Idaho Blue Spruce. It's a spruce.
Oh, Idaho Blue Spruce. Wow.
Now you can use this topically. This particular study, they were using it internally, but Idaho Blue Spruce does definitely help to, I say, spruce him up in the best way possible. It helps with all sorts of things for the men. And I have blends and I have concoctions of different oils in the book. And I could go on for this forever, but I know we're getting to the end of the show, so people just have to get the book. But
exactly.
There are blends and concoctions. You mix that with other certain oils that help with like firmness and longevity and vasodilation support. You put those all together, and it's like, we call it the perky pill, and it's a blend of oils. So you'll have to go to the book to get that, but that's so great for the men.
I love that. Oh my gosh. So these are amazing. Like, I wrote these down, but I'm also getting your book.
We're gonna put them in show notes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell you where to get them, how to use them.
Do you from your Lucy Libido website, do you sell any pre-mixed oils?
I don't do them pre-mixed because I have so many thousands of people that buy the book. I couldn't just mix all day, but the book tells you how to mix them. It's so easy. It's just like a little bit of fractionated coconut oil and put so many drops of this and that in there, and you put it in the bottle and you put it on, you mix it into your lube, you mix it into a love roller. It's so easy. You can even take the oils and just put them on direct if that's easier for you. So many easy ways to use them. And the funny thing is, the men, let me tell you, the men at first, like in my research group, they're like, you're not going to put these oils on me. Like, what is this like smelly stuff, right? And I'm just like, just trust me, just do it. And they all come back next day and they're like, get those on reorder, you know? And people always ask, like, so for the men, like for the women, we have lube recipes that help with the estrogen. For men, we have testosterone blends and lubes. We have one called Soldier Serum because it's helped his soldier to be a saluting, stalwart soldier. And people are always like, oh my gosh, like, where, like, how do I use that? Where do I put that? And I'm like, okay, just close your eyes and pretend that you're out in the nature, in the woods, and you're completely naked. And you're like, okay, where do I put this? And I'm like, you see the boulders, like just those big boulders, just go all around the boulders, We're good. You see the big trees in nature. You're just going to go up the shaft of all those trees.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
Wait, you got to go. I'll get into this. But
This show is made possible with your support. Tune in to the Lizzie Ens Show every Friday at 3
Thank
p.m.
you
Eastern,
so much,
2 p.m.
Lucy.
Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific Time, and around the world at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. And don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends.